Hi there. Hi there. It is June already. And today is actually my best friend's birthday. So happy birthday, Ange. I talked to you already this morning, but I'm still going to do a shout out because I'm going live. And now my machine is going to make all sorts of noises because I didn't set it on Do Not Disturb. So that's my fault. It's June. It's 2022. Anything can happen. So my name is Trisha Broderick. I'm with Ignite Insight and Innovation. And today we're going to talk on a topic that honestly I'm always dealing with, but it feels more like more and more people are dealing with it. And I'm wondering if it's partially because we're in some cases going to go back to speaking in person. Like I'm going to multiple conferences this month or starting to slowly see people a little bit right now that it's increasing. I'm not sure. But imposter syndrome seems to be coming up more and more. And when I mean imposter syndrome, there's lots that's written up there. But essentially what I'm going to boil it down to a little bit here is just that feeling internally where even if you logically know you're okay at something or even good at something, you wonder if you belong. You wonder if you're good at all. You wonder if you're just going to mess it all up. You kind of just a lot of insecurity into your head. And for me, it can spiral into lots of areas. Again, even if I logically know it's not true, emotionally and all sorts of other ways, I can feel it in different things. So I thought about today just doing a couple little tips in terms of how I sometimes counter my imposter syndrome and what things work for me. That said, you might find something totally different. Like a lot of people say, oh, meditating really helps. It does not, or yoga. Like yoga does not help for me. When I'm doing yoga, all I do is think more in my brain about how horrible something is, or I'm not prepared, or all sorts of things. I have found rage yoga, and rage yoga is my jam. I did enjoy rage yoga. That made me laugh, which did make me relax. So sometimes being up in my head is not always the thing. So these tips could be beneficial for you. These tips might not be, but just to acknowledge sometimes I think is beneficial, which is tip number one, that you're not the only one that experiences it. Sometimes I almost wish that it wasn't called imposter syndrome because it makes it sound like it's weird if it happens. When in my experience, I did a keynote once and I remember the first time and I had everybody close their eyes in this huge room. And I was like, raise your hand if you've ever felt like you didn't really belong or you're waiting for people to figure out that you shouldn't have the job that you have. And I asked a series of questions like that. And I was floored because I thought maybe 20% of the hands would go up or something. And majority of the hands went up. So for me, that number one dynamic is to remember that I'm probably not the only person that actually fears this and experiences it and struggles with it at times. And so that just knowing that can be a little bit helpful sometimes. Two, there's a ratio that alters for a lot of people in different ways. The one that I like going by a lot the most is a range of like 4 to 6 positives so that your brain can actually process feedback or a negative. So if you are finding yourself in a bad space, like you're just feel like it's coming down all around you, this is not the time to go, hey, I want some feedback. It is not the time to go, hey, tell me what you think of my presentation. Nope, not the time. Not the time. Go and you'll have that time later. It doesn't mean you don't care about feedback. It doesn't mean you don't want to grow. It means you're not in the headspace to process it anyways. And so sometimes I'll give myself permission to just sit on that feedback, to just sit on it and wait. It doesn't have to get addressed right now. It doesn't have to be done. It doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It doesn't mean that I don't care or I'm never going to look at it. It means I'm not in the headspace to handle it right now. And so sometimes my just being aware of, what's my energy level, what's my bucket. Like they always say, fill your bucket, right? Like, how good am I feeling? Because if I'm not, then chances are I'm not going to handle the feedback very well anyways, which is defeating the whole purpose of why I care about it. So give yourself that permission to sit on information or sit on tasks that you're just not in the right headspace to do right in that moment. Two, and I think I've said this before on here, but it is one of my favorite things, is if I wouldn't say it to somebody else, should I be saying it to myself? I don't know what it is psychologically about me being able to be so much nicer to everybody else than to myself at times. But the fact is like, I know that there are times I say things to myself that I'm like, I would never say that to somebody else. Like, in fact, I would get mad at them if they told me they were saying it to themselves. So who do I want to be, right? Do I want to be hypocritical? Do I want to send mixed messages, or do I want to eat my own dog food and kind of be the person that can say, look, I know it's hard, but I won't say it to myself because I wouldn't say it to you, so I don't want you doing the same thing, right? And just kind of remembering that when I am in that spiral, it's easy that I only see the bad, right? And so a lot of times it is that, would I say this to somebody else? If not, nope, don't say it to yourself. Third one, Adam Grant. And I'm gonna blank on Think Again, I think is the title of the book. Sorry, I had to look. Think Again is the title of the book. And he actually references the term confident humility for imposter syndrome. And I really, really like that. And here's why, because a lot of times I've kind of held on to my imposter syndrome with this idea of like, no, it helped push me. It did a lot for me. It served me. It made sure that I was always prepared, that I did the research, that I did the work, that I put in the practice, right? Because I was always afraid of not fitting in or not belonging or being the one of 3 women graduating from computer science and what was that going to mean, and all of those things that in some ways I've attributed the imposter syndrome to my success, which is not accurate. And yet there is a flavor of, I did work really, really hard. So I like the concept of this confident humility where it's like, I can know I can solve things, and yet I don't have to pretend like I know everything, which is amazing, like, because you don't. And so I'm able to go down that path, but I can still kind of challenge myself and feel like I'm not at my best. And that feels more humble to me and honest and real, and yet not talk horribly to myself. Where the confidence part comes in is like, I can do that second part without the part of shaming myself or getting into a negative spiral that actually just causes me to not achieve the thing I'm trying to go after. So I'm really working on separating those two things of like, there is a pushing yourself and there is not a treating yourself like crap part of imposter syndrome. And so I've been trying to embrace more of that confident humility as I'm going forward. And one of the things that actually helped me with this, and it's pretty recent, that just reminded me of what I say and do is visible. I have a 15-year-old daughter who shared with me her writing, her 9th grade final writing assignment. And I won't share the whole thing because we tend to keep these shorter. But basically, she kind of highlighted, you hear the saying, practice makes perfect. But she called out practice makes perseverance, and that and only do you get to perfect or even on your way to getting better is by failing, is by learning, is by not necessarily belonging or understanding or being able to do it. And so not only am I looking at imposter syndrome as confident humility, but I'm also looking more at the perseverance dynamic of that's what I care about, is that I'm going to keep trying, that I'm going to keep doing it, that I'm going to keep working. And I don't have to take the shaming parts with it. I don't have to talk down to myself or be a critic to myself to still have the perseverance. Like, that wasn't the necessary part. And so really separating that, because I wouldn't, again, want my daughter shaming herself to to keep her perseverance, right? Like they don't have to go hand in hand. So big kind of things for us. And yes, hey Brian, yes, our children teach us so much, and sometimes a little too much, and it's just like right in your face. But it's good. It's good. The next one I want to highlight, and I think that I've been working with a number of people right now, and I've been seeing it a lot where people are trying to be, but I'm not like you, or I'm not like so and so in the community, or this person's better speaker, this person's doing that. And I just want to highlight that sometimes the very message that needs to be heard can only be heard by you, or done by you, or delivered by you. Um, we're all different, and that's part of what makes us valuable, right? And there are going to be people that will connect with me saying a message, and someone else can repeat exactly the same thing I'm saying right now, and they will better connect with that individual because maybe that person, is single, or maybe that person didn't go to college, or maybe that person is a practitioner, not a consultant right now, right? Like, who knows what we connect on and why in different ways? But to assume that, well, but the message is better from somebody else. No, the message might need to be from you. You don't know who needed to hear that message from you in that moment, right? My daughter is not the first person to talk about perseverance when it comes to learning and failure and practice. And yet I needed that message to come from her. I could have read the same article about something, but I needed her to say it. I needed to hear her use those words, right? And so don't discount, even if you're not at the level of somebody else, the value you bring, because it's your voice, your experience, your message, your point in time, that somebody else may register exactly in that same moment and need that connection more than anything else. And the last thing that I do often, and I'm a little bit, well, not a little bit, okay, that was a lie, owning it. I am way better at this when I'm doing it with somebody than just myself. But it's to celebrate the little wins. I think a lot of times we try to serve others, right? We try to help, we try to deliver things, we try to make a difference, right? And we're so focused on the big picture, but that's a big road. It's a long road. It's a hard road. And there are lots of little wins along the way. And we have to take a minute to acknowledge those, to really embrace those. And I even had, in full transparency, I even had a moment of this morning. I had made myself a note to follow up with somebody because they're going to be doing this interview to try and get a certification today. And I had made myself a note because they've been working with me to prepare for it, and they're nervous, right? And so I made myself this note. I sent them a message this morning that just said, thinking of you, right? And for me, this is like the bare minimum I could do, right? I mean, if I could have shown up, right? But the bare minimum was that I could send a quick message to know that I remembered, that I'm thinking of it, right? And I got this amazing response back. And it was clear to me in this response that it was an expected message, right? Like they weren't expecting me to do that. And for me, I almost dismissed the response because I was like, well, of course I'm going to do that, right? Like this was the bare minimum that I could do. But that's a win. And it's a win I'm not acknowledging because I did make a difference, right? I did help somebody. And yes, I can always do more. And yes, I can do those things, but I don't want to diminish the little things that I am doing. And I don't know about you, but I'm very capable of diminishing those things and invalidating them. And yet those, and a lot of times, are the things that fill that bucket, that give me back the energy so that I can get to a place where I'm not spiraling. So it's a vicious little cycle here, people, that we have to get and acknowledge and work through. So those are things that help me at least not pretend that it's gone. Like I think I'm always kind of there, but I can in the moment then more rely on the logical part of my brain that says, here's what I'm doing and here's the value. And then not the shaming part that is not adding any value whatsoever, and stick with that perseverance and keep going with the feedback and the things that you want. And so I know a lot of people, this is coming up more. We're about to start interacting with people again. I feel like I want to wear a shirt that says coming in hot for the hug, right? Like, but remember, just everybody's struggling with different insecurities in different ways. And the more grace we can give to each other, maybe the more I can have some more and more hope for humanity as we're going forward. So what's coming up for me? I will be at the Scrum Gathering this next 2 days. I'm speaking on Monday in Denver. I am heading to Vegas for TechWell's conference, and I'm speaking both Monday and Tuesday at that. And then we do have a few spots left in the Leading Amazing Teams course with Jake Calabrese this month. It is, let me look, the 22nd through the 24th. There are a few spots left in there. Not many, but a few spots left. And then I will be kind of out. So next month, I'm actually going to cheat and do the next live, not on July 1st, because everybody's going to be on vacation anyways. But I will be on vacation as well. And so I'm going to be doing the live probably on the 29th instead. So cheating for the month of July and doing that. But otherwise, I don't have any other publics coming up for the next month or two. Lots of privates and conference seasons. And I will make a plug as well for Agile 2022 is coming up in July, and I will be there as well in Nashville. So in the meantime, have a great month, and hopefully it flies by a little slower than last month, but we'll see. Otherwise, I will see you soon.